Give the green light.
All right. It is 12:05 now. Michael, are you okay, or you got too many people coming in?
Nope, I'm multitasking. I'm perfect. It's very simple.
12:05.
There's a lot of people. There's more people coming in, so wait a couple minutes. It's like three or four people just logged on.
You understand that multitasking is just reserved for women, right?
No. I'm a very good multitasker. I've been doing it for a long time. I love it.
I'm not.
All right. In the meantime, I just posted the speakers' names with email addresses and sponsor information, as well as a few other tidbits. So if you, instead of going through all the introductions, I believe we're just going to post on the chat room to save some time. And I think we could get started, Elaine. I think we're about ready to go.
Absolutely.
All right. So good afternoon, everybody. And let me first say welcome back to our second part of this. So we'd like to pick up where we left off on part one of our conversation with women of influence. So we'll keep things short and sweet and to the point, because this is a second part of the program that it's been discussed already. We got inadvertently interrupted, if you will, on our first in our first part of it. So you, again, as Michael said, if you stay in tune and look at the chat room at the bottom of your screen, if you click on that, everybody's information is in there. So I'd like to welcome back our guest speakers again for today, Stacy, Madison, Teri Williams, and Caitlin Stella. To our moderator as last time that we've got severely interrupted, Judge Linda Singer-Stein. To our meeting sponsor, Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital, which, as you know, is part of the Memorial Healthcare System. And a thank you once again, and congratulations on being named one of the highest ranking children's hospitals for pediatric orthopedics in Florida, and among the 25 best in the US, and among the top 50 in the nation for cardiac and heart surgery. And again, we will not blame him if something happens today, but to our meeting, let's call him moderator, not moderator. Let's call him our technology expert, to Michael Stern from Stern Bloom Media. And a thank you again, Michael, for what you did at the last meeting and controlling that and cutting it off, but in general for beating all of our meeting administrators for everything we do at the Aventura Chamber of Commerce. To our participating organizations that we have here today, the Aventura Marketing Council, obviously, and President Elaine Adler, Coconut Grove Chamber Board Member Lilia Garcia, Coral Gables Chamber CEO Mark Trowbridge, Dania Beach Chamber CEO Randy Shane. Hold on one second, I need to go to my list. Hialeah Chamber CEO Mandy Yanis, Hollywood Chamber CEO Marie Suarez, Key Biscayne Chamber CEO Tatiana Cototi, Miami Beach Chamber, and Jerry, you missed all of the fun last time. I was looking for you. CEO Jerry Libin, Miami-Dade Chamber CEO Eric Knowles. And Eric, if you're on, I saw you on TV earlier this week. And the Miami-Dade Gay and Lesbian Chamber CEO Steve Adkins. That being said, last one, Power of the Heels Foundation. She spoke and gave her some information last time, and that is our Aventura Commissioner Gladys Mizrahi, founder and CEO of Power of the Heels Foundation. I will turn it over right now. And even though we started late, according to Elaine's schedule, I am exactly on time, Elaine. 12:08, introduction of Mayor Enid Weissman. So Enid, for the second time in this program of Women of Influence, I will turn it over to you, Enid.
Okay, thank you, Gary. And I think that I'm unmuted. Welcome back, everyone. I feel like we're rebooting this meeting, and it's a joy to see some people that weren't here on session one, and of course to see all of you. So much has happened in the world since our last meeting that we could spend today, and all we've got is one precious hour talking about so many issues. But I just want to refocus everyone. Today, we're really talking about gender bias and how women can break that glass ceiling. And some of you know how tough it is to even shatter that glass. So you're here to inspire, to tell us your stories, how you did it, some of the challenges that you faced. And quite honestly, I'm really excited. I mean, I went to Publix, Stacy, and I saw Stacy's chips, and I can't tell you how that made me feel inside, that I really knew the real Stacy. And I have a feeling there are lots of stories like that where women have done things, and Elaine, this is just masterful. So with that, again, and I appreciate the guys that are on here. Hi, Jerry. It's very important. Women, Charlie, we can't do it by ourselves. We need the other gender to realize that we can do some things too, and we need your help. We really are all stronger together, and it does take a village. So again, I'm so happy that we're having the opportunity to have a part two. And I know, Michael, do I turn it back to you?
I think we'll go back to Gary.
Okay.
Okay,
Back
all
to
right.
Judge Stein.
Let's see here. We have our next, let's see, then I will turn it over to our judge, Judge Linda Singer-Stein, who will do a reintroduction of the panelists.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. And I want to thank again the Aventura Marketing Council, Elaine, Gary, and Michael for bringing us back to continue learning and talking to these three exceptional women that you're going to hear from. They've all been giving back so much to the community, and I'm only going to just remind you of how special they are. First, we have Stacy Madison, founder of Stacy's Pita Chips and BeBOLD Bars. Stacy is a well-established entrepreneur and began her career as an astute businesswoman when she discovered how much her sandwich shop customers loved the baked pita bread that she made. It became Stacy's healthy and delicious pita chips. And another one of her next enterprises was opening Stacy's Juice Bar. And then that's when BeBOLD bars were born. And these healthy energy bars are refrigerated, gluten and dairy free, and made with all nutritious ingredients. So we once again welcome Stacy back. Next, we have Teri Williams, the founder and chief operating officer of OneUnited Bank. OneUnited Bank is the largest African-American owned bank in the nation, and Teri serves as president, chief operating officer, and is on the board of directors. Teri, who's also an author, strives to improve the connection between the financial services industry with urban communities, including educating youth to fully support economic development and wealth building. Teri has 30 years of financial services expertise. Teri, we're delighted to have you back as well. And then we have Caitlin Stella, CEO of Joe DiMaggio Children's Hospital at Memorial. And all of us who have children or who had little children have been frequent.
I'm waving.
You'll be there. If you have boys, you'll be there all the time. They take good care of our kids. Caitlin has a very impressive high-level background and experience in children's health care. And she joined Joe DiMaggio's hospital almost 2 years ago. The last time we were together, Caitlin explained that every aspect of Joe DiMaggio's hospital is based on connecting love and heart to the young patients and their families. Caitlin, welcome back to our panel.
Thank you so much.
And now we're going to be ready to continue with our panel discussion with these amazing women of influence. A reminder that the chat room is open and your questions for each of our panelists can be submitted there. I'm going to do the best I can to get to all of them if I can. I've got some questions though to start off.
Actually, Judge Stein, if I
Yes,
may, I have a
of
really
course.
quick video we're going to show.
Oh,
And,
yes, I was going to just say that this is
Okay.
Caitlin's video. And so we're going to start with Caitlin's video, and then I'll start with asking her some questions about it.
Perfect. Do you see the stop sign on the screen, everybody?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Okay.
Okay. So let's go to Caitlin. Caitlin, that's from Memorial Hospitals. Can you tell us a little bit about that video and where that's being seen and how that's helping everyone?
Sure. So we are fortunate to be one of the largest public health systems in the country, and we feel obligated not only because of our mission, but also just the fact that we're going through unprecedented times in the country right now. And so, just as a community education campaign, both online and on television, we're promoting sort of safe practices. We have a lot of communication on our website right now for patients and families coming to the hospital or maybe avoiding coming to the hospital, which is something we've seen, especially adults and pediatrics. People are afraid. So we have lots of information for them, but we felt that doing something for the broader community around things you can do to slow the spread or keep yourself safe, that was an important message as well, just as the public health leaders of the community. So that's what that is. Thank you for sharing it.
So Caitlin, I want to just stay with you for a minute because the frontline workers are so critical at this time. And I'm sure they've received special training on how to comfort children in the hospital. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And maybe if visitation rules have changed? We've heard so many problems with that.
Oh yeah, it's a challenge. And I will say, you know, nobody wants to be in this position where you have to make decisions around limiting family members coming, and especially with children. So I'll give you a little bit of both. On the adult side, so we have our 6 hospitals and 5 of them are adult hospitals, and we have had to limit visitation pretty significantly so that we have just the minimum number of people in the buildings. That's kind of the key, so that our workforce is not exposed, other patients aren't exposed. So we've definitely had those visitation restrictions in place, which we know is difficult. So if we have to make exceptions for certain things, we try to work with the families. We do use technology quite a bit. We do use our iPads and virtual connection with families, but it is not a position anybody wants to be in, but we feel that it is the right thing to do for patient care. And the children's hospital is slightly different. So of course we have to have one parent at the bedside. So there's consent and we have supervision, et cetera. So it's a little different in the children's hospital, but it's also just as difficult for families who are used to having both parents or other family members or siblings. We don't have any children coming into the hospital right now that are not patients. So again, it's not really part of our culture. We're very much a culture of patient family-centered care and making sure everyone's included in the patient's care, because we truly believe that that's when patients do best. But right now, just with the communicable disease going around in the community, we have to be careful and protect not only our patients, but also our workforce. In terms of specialized training, yes, all of our nurses and physicians and other health professionals are all trained on appropriate use of PPE, and that's across the health system. So masks, gloves, gowns, all of those kinds of things. And then additionally, in the children's hospital, we have what's called child life specialists, who are child development specialists, and they are helping the kids to understand why only one parent can be there, why people are wearing masks, why they have to wear a mask potentially. So it's just trying to get them to understand the whys. So we have a great place though. I mean, many of you know Joe DiMaggio, and so the culture is one that is focused on the child. And so we have really tried hard to make everything we do for them still a positive experience. And so yeah, that's kind of, it's just a difficult situation to be in right now. And we continue to try to make decisions based on what we think is right for the health of the community.
Just want to ask you one follow-up question, and then Elaine had a good one. Special needs children, that must be a real challenge during this time. Can you tell us, is there something going on, training on that, or how they're handled? Yes,
again, so a lot of our staff members get annual education on this that specific population. For example, I'll just give you one example. Our emergency department is an autism-friendly emergency department, so everyone's trained on how to deal with children with sensory issues or anxiety, noise, things of that nature that are sensory that would be related to things like autism or other developmental disabilities. So a lot of the staff that are frontline already do get training on that. And then in addition, like I said, we have child life specialists who are child developmentalists who can be called in anytime to help deal with a special circumstance. One thing we actually initiated that's gone very well is our child life specialists are actually calling families ahead of time. So for example, if your child is special needs and we know they're coming in for a procedure or a visit, we're ready for them when they get to the hospital, and we're already instructing the family on things to bring with them, whether it's a comfort object or maybe a video they can show them in advance so that they know where they're going, because even that preparation sometimes helps with kids who might have special needs. So we have a few things that we do to try to ease the experience. And yes, and our team gets a lot of training in that area.
That's wonderful. And before I head over to Teri, I heard a rumor that you ride around the hospital checking on everything in a little red car, kitty car. What happens there? Do I have to give you a speeding ticket?
Well, I have to tell you, so I hope my assistant Sonia is on the phone, because she is like my helper when we drive around in this car. So I started out, we had someone donate these little baby Ferraris. And so we have them for the children. They can drive themselves out of the hospital. They can drive themselves in, you know, they're there to play. We have a very kid-friendly environment. So I said to her one day, like, I think I can get in this thing, you know? And so she helped me get around the hospital. It was kind of slow. And then somebody donated to us like a little baby Tesla. And so I said, oh, I can definitely get in this one. And so we rode it around the hospital, and that thing is really fast. So I have to have supervision with that one because we've, you know, almost hit a few walls a few times. So Sonia's my handler, and we kind of come around the corner, but really, I mean, I do it because it can be such a heavy environment. You know, it's still a hospital, it's a children's hospital. We do keep it light, but we see a lot of really difficult stories and families that are having a hard time and staff that are dealing with it all the time. You know, even, and right now, especially, it's just a whole other level of already existing stress. So sometimes just to lighten the mood, we do things like we have popsicle day, or we'll order pizza for the whole house, or I'll drive my car just to sort of check in on everybody and kind of make it fun. So we also have Tutu Tuesday, Mouse Ear Monday, where we all wear mouse ears, Tutu Tuesday, Wacky Sock Wednesday, Tie-Dye Thursday, and Fun for You Friday. So again, it's just part of our culture to make it a fun environment for kids.
That sounds wonderful. You do such terrific things for the kids. I know it's a very difficult situation. Teri, I want to just touch on the COVID crisis with you a little bit. I'm sure that you've implemented some unique ways to help the community during the crisis. Can you tell us a little bit about any programs that you have?
Teri.
Go ahead, Teri. Unmute yourself. I just sent
Oh,
you a
I'm so
unmute.
sorry. I muted. Yes. Sorry. Start over. So I was just saying that we are an essential business. So we've been open the entire pandemic. I'm here in our Miami office where we have our branch staff as well as our call center. So we have done a lot actually to help during this COVID crisis. We offered the Paycheck Protection Program, which just got announced that it got extended another 5 weeks for those businesses that still want to apply. We actually did end our part of the program yesterday, but we were able to fund a lot of businesses through that program. We also have a home buyers class, and what was fascinating is our home buyers class used to be in our branch, and it's once a month. And we got maybe about 20 people each month that came for the class. Since we moved to having it on Zoom, not exactly on Zoom, but a video conference platform, our attendance has gone up 5-fold. We now have 100 people that attended. So that's just been fabulous. And we decided that after this the whole thing blows over with the pandemic, that we're going to keep it as a video conference because we feel like we're reaching more people this way than having it in person. And what that program does is it really helps people get ready to buy a home. The other surprising thing that we have found is that our home loan applications have tripled since the pandemic. We were concerned that they actually were going to, sort of go down because of what's happening to everyone. But I think that with people being home more, they're starting to realize the importance of being in your home, and the idea of owning a home has, become much more important to everyone. And so we have seen a tripling of home loan applications to the point where we've had to hire staff to basically process them all. So between the business loans and the home loans, we are doing as much as we can during this pandemic.
That's wonderful. Thank you for everything you do for the community. Stacy.
Actually, I'm sorry, Judge Stein. I do
Yes.
have a question from Mayor Weissman for Teri.
Sure. Yes.
She wants to know, Teri, in a male-dominated industry, how did you get into banking and rise to the top with all the males being, of course, in banking?
Yeah. So I had the fortune of going to Harvard Business School and meeting a gentleman that worked at American Express, who ultimately became my mentor and ultimately became the CEO of American Express, Ken Chenault. So I strongly believe that in general, we need mentors, but particularly women. I worked at American Express for many years and then ultimately left and bought a bank with my husband. He he's a lawyer and also has an MBA. But we both bought a bank, a local bank in Boston, and then came to Miami and bought People's Bank. A lot of you may remember People's Bank here in Miami, and then bought 2 more banks in LA and then combined them into one and changed our name to OneUnited Bank. But to get directly to your question, it was really, I think, through mentorship that I was able to break into the financial services industry and then ultimately rise.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Great. To sort of follow up on that, for Stacy, you started as a very young entrepreneur. And I'd like to know, did you have challenges in starting? And if so, how did you overcome such challenges? And you're muted.
I've gotten very good at the unmute, and I've also gotten better at scrolling. That's my 2 things, scroll up. So thank you very much, first of all, for having me, and second of all, for the compliment that I was very young when I started, because I was not. When I first started, I think I was mid to late, I think I was in at least my mid 30s. And it was a bit of a career change because prior I was a clinical social worker to going into this business. So so the question was, how did I get started? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
How did you get started, and any challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those challenges when you were starting?
Yeah, so I mean, the challenges were just endless. Certainly in the beginning, but as you grew, and the challenges kind of just grew with you. So to think that once you get started and your brand starts to become successful, your challenges don't go away. They just become bigger in the sense of risk. So if you think of it, when you're small and you have less to risk, if you might go out of business or something like that, then that's fine. Then if you get bigger and your challenges get bigger, then you go out of business or something like that, your worst fear that happens is, you are now taking all these people with you. So those challenges never seem to go away, but definitely, I know we've spoken a little bit about, all of the gender issues, and you face a lot of them, and it's just, thinking back, would I have handled them the same way as I might today? I might not. Everything from, from going and buying equipment from, down south and male dominated industry where there's no women working at their factories, and looking at the machines with my brother and Mark and our production engineer, and we're all standing there, and the gentleman goes around the circle and shakes everybody's hand but mine, and things, just little nonverbal things that might happen that are like that. Maybe I handled it one way, and my brother is kicking me under the table because he knows that I'm at that point biting my tongue, but we really want this machine. And, how would I have handled it now versus how I handled it then? And, I grew up in, as, a very loving family, and my dad, was always always in love, wanted the best for us, but at the same time had that 1950s mentality of just, as a female, you don't become a doctor, you become a social worker kind of thing, and you smile and look pretty, and you might find a husband and have a side career so you can raise your children and all of that. And you know what, I mean, it's out of love, but at the same time, certainly not the way that I'm raising my twin girls in that sense. So, it's interesting the way that those things affect you and you do face those challenges throughout.
So you had a career in social work, and what prompted you to make such a switch? And what was the key driving force in owning your own business and then striving to be at the top of your field?
So when I first started, I mean, like I said, I became a social worker and not a psychologist. And also it was easier, less school, things like that. I can't say, I said I was an okay social worker. I can't say I was great. Admittedly so, because I went from a job that I loved working with homeless, pregnant, drug addicted women and making $22,000 a year to not being able to make a living. So I went into private practice where I could make a living. And then coming from one atmosphere and then going to the other atmosphere of marriage and family counseling, there was something inside of me that said, you people don't know what problems are after working with this other population, and that's not good empathy. That's not good to have. And so I did take a break from that, and I went back into the restaurant business because working through college and grad school, that was really the only other thing that I knew was the food business. So I went and I worked for a startup operation in Hawaii, and, get there, you have to work 80 hours a week in order just to afford rent. And I ended up from that job, and I'd never been fired, but from that job, I ended up losing that job. After we got the restaurant open, they let go 5 of their managers. And at that point, I think there was just a switch, in my mind. I proved to myself, now I can look at it as a positive. I can get by all of the bawling my eyes out for weeks. I can look at it as a positive and say, that was the point that I realized in myself that if I could work this hard and make a business successful for somebody else, that I could do it for myself.
That's terrific. Now, I know that all 3 of our fantastic women work extremely long hours. And I didn't hear too much about families other than I know there are twins involved here. And I was wondering, let me start with Caitlin. How has being a high-level executive affected your personal life? And how do you do a work-life balance?
What is that? I'm just kidding. I will say I used to work in consulting. I actually worked for PwC for a long time. And again, Teri mentioned mentorship, and I had this great mentor, and she told me, there is no such thing as work-life balance. It is just life. Like, it is just life, and you're going to have your job and you're going to have your life, and they're going to intertwine, and you're going to be taking phone calls about your mom and sisters, and you're going to be doing that and working, and you just got to get over it. That's just life. It's not one or the other. And I also had a great teacher in graduate school that told me, you can have everything, you just might not be able to have it all at the same time. So you have to figure out what it is that you want, and know you're going to make trade-offs along the way. And that's how that's just the course of your life. And so I never really saw it as, you know, one switches on and the other switches on, and you know, there aren't clear lines to me. And to me, this is also not a job. It's just what I love to do. It's my life's work. So I've always seen it that way, as I don't feel like I'm at work and then I'm at home and I have to draw a line. It's just my life, you know? And so I'm not perfect. I will tell you, I've had periods of my career where I've burned myself out, and I now know the signs of when it's coming, and I try to be very proactive. But I also know I'm high energy. I love doing community things, and not everybody does. And so I have to just understand that my version of balance, or what I call just my life and how I run my life, is not the way everybody else does it. And I've made my choices accordingly, knowing what I am good and not good at. So I don't try to hold myself to a standard I cannot meet. And I just think we're all imperfect, and we're all doing the best we can. And I used to resent technology as being interfering with my life, but I've come to appreciate it as giving me freedom, you know, so I can take the phone call and be at the gym or whatever. So to me, I don't think it's a perfect science, and I don't think it's something that anybody does perfectly, but I do think that I just try to think of it as my life in general, and tackle each day as it comes, and do the best that I can.
So I'm glad you mentioned technology. Teri, let me follow up with you on that. I'm sure that you have, or maybe you can tell us, do you have people who are still working remotely with regard to the bank, and or how has technology affected your business?
Yeah. So I shouldn't say, we have a few employees that are working remotely, but most of us have been coming into the office. I find it sort of difficult to lead a team that has to come into the office if I don't come. So I have actually been coming to the office as well. But the way that technology has really impacted our business is that we do offer an array of services through our mobile app, and our business has actually doubled. We have doubled our customers since December of this year, surprisingly. In fact, that has been a big challenge for us, because it took us, and I just realized these numbers. We've been in business, the banking has been in business for 50 years, and we've doubled our customer base in 4 months. So it took us 50 years to get where we were in December, and now we're double in June. And the reason is because we're very active on social media. We have been for years. We have always promoted our online and mobile banking services. And what we have seen is a huge transformation of our customers from being branch customers to being online customers. Today, 90% of our customers come to us through our online channel, as opposed to walking into a branch. And even some of our older customers who used to come into the branch have been coming in and asking our staff to help them set up their mobile banking app. So, so the world has changed. I'm on actually a Visa Community Bankers Roundtable, and so I get a lot of the statistics from Visa, and they said that online purchases have gone from 10% of purchases to 80% of purchases. So there's just been, this pandemic has caused a huge transformation of online business, which I'm sure all of us can appreciate. And what that has done for banking is really transformed how we do business with our customers.
Yeah, I have those Amazon packages almost daily. It's lethal to sit there online. I miss shopping a lot.
Yeah. I have to say though, I was grocery shopping and I saw Stacy Pita chips as well. So it was nice to see them. So I was actually in the store and I saw them on the shelf. But for the most part, yes, most of us are doing our shopping online.
Oh, you're gonna have to start looking for the BeBOLD bars.
Okay, I'll look.
If you like the pita chips, you gotta go. I know you're buying yogurt too, so we're over in the yogurt section.
Oh, good. I'll look. Thanks.
And Stacy, I have to thank you for donating the BeBOLD bars to the team at the hospital too. We very, very much appreciated it. So thank you.
Good.
Oh, that's wonderful. Stacy, I'll have a question for you then, because you are really our entrepreneur here, starting up your own businesses. What advice do you have for women or men who aspire to become the CEO or top of a national company and starting their own business?
It's funny because I have an intern from Babson University who's been working for us, and the other day she was saying, she's the captain of the volleyball team and in her early 20s, and I said to her, I'm like, you're captain. I'm just so impressed with that. I've never been captain. And she turned around and looked at me. She said, you're CEO, isn't that the same thing? And I'm like, I never actually thought about it that way, but it gave me this whole new view of myself. Like, she's like, you're leading teams, and I'm like, really? I never even thought of it that way. Where so. But anyway, I think one of the things, especially as it applies to the entrepreneurial world and as it applies to small businesses, is to be able to have that flexibility. I know you spoke about challenges that you face, and really in order to grow, you're facing those challenges every day. And if you kind of have this path, and I know a lot of the MBA students are like, well, what's your exit strategy? And I strongly feel that if you have an exit strategy as a small business, it gets your focus all mushy, because all you're seeing is that tunnel vision as compared to opportunities that may come and go that are around you. And having that flexibility to be able to pivot and change, particularly, I mean, look at the time. This is everybody's first pandemic. There is nobody with expertise in how to run your business during all of this craziness, and during, the shopper's behavior has completely changed. Are they in the stores? Are they not in the stores? Where are they looking for new products? And if you completely have that tunnel vision and you don't have that flexibility to change and pivot as a small business, then you really are not in the right place. So, I mean, I'd have to say, like, that's probably my greatest piece of advice to the people who are starting businesses and who are in businesses during this time. I mean, look at Teri, how she grew her business. It took 50 years, and now all of a sudden she's like, well, our business has changed so much. And now she sees it and she's able to follow in that direction. And it's just like, it must be just a tremendously great feeling to do that kind of thing. But it's the same thing.
So, Stacy, on that topic, with the BeBOLD bars that you've so generously provided to the community, I know last time we were on the Zoom conference, you told us a little bit about how you came up with that idea and how what it meant to you. And before I say that Tamara came up with another way to balance work life, and she said, be honest and compassionate with yourself. And I always hear too, be kind to yourself. So maybe you can tell us about what be bold to yourself would mean.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we found, all of a sudden pandemic hits and we have a complete shift in what people are putting in their shopping cart. They're either racing through there and buying toilet paper, or nobody's, looking at any tags or anything new or anything like that. And so I think during this time for us, we found that, yes, you still have to focus on some of your sales, but like what we did with the hospital, I mean, we sent 30,000, we had one account, we had Publix. Okay, don't tell Publix that, but we had Publix, and that was really our one account. And we've since added a couple of other major accounts, but by doing those donations, we literally stickered every single one of those bars. We had to open up all the packaging, sticker every single one available at Publix. 30,000 of them we sent down to Florida to multiple hospitals, because we said, this is going to be our focus right now. And we are going to get the word out that we are available at Publix, because we really don't have demo programs. We really don't have any of the tools that we were used to having before. So for us, being able to make donations like that is both, we're hoping that in the long run, it will help us financially and bring in some money for the company. But at the same time, that's really a way for us to, it feels good. It feels useful. It feels like you're doing something. And actually, so like, what's the BeBOLD? I would have to say that, like, sharing that optimism is kind of my way and our way of giving back and overcoming any kind of disturbing feelings that we've had, whether it's from our leadership or from the pandemic or what have you. That it's just really coming, when you do something nice, then it gives you a strength. The payback, exactly. Yeah. And it just helps. And I feel like that is what's driving our whole team forward. So, when people are out there, when we team up with Chobani down in New York, and they switched their yogurt shop to a food pantry, and to be part of that and be able to send bars down and to, and whoever, everybody is eating them, just being able to feed people and being able to do all that, that's how we're getting through this. And we have a true belief that is going to help our branding and help us in the long run. So it might not be an immediate thing, but maybe next year. We're like, this is just survival mode. We are just in survival mode this year, and we're looking at 2021 will be full steam ahead.
I hope so. We all hope so. Caitlin, I know that Memorial Hospitals and Joe DiMaggio are always at the forefront, cutting edge of things. Are there any new exciting projects that you can clue us in on?
Yes, I will tell you one second. But Stacy, I just wanted to comment really quickly on Goodwill. And I have to tell you that you may be in survival mode, but what you're doing is spreading goodwill in a time where that's what people need, and even what we all went through the last experience on this phone call, to come back together again and just be spreading goodwill and positivity and optimism and all the things you were trying to love, in our case, that's what it means to lead in the community. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
In terms of us at the hospital, we just started construction on 4 stories that we are actually going up on the building. So it's a 4-story hospital right now, and we are adding 4 stories to the children's hospital. And we literally just started construction amid all of this. The good news is that the first phase is external, so no one has to come into the hospital building to frame out the 4 floors. What's going into that building, it's not just a beautiful building. It's going to be a beautiful children's hospital, but there's a lot of technology that's going in terms of safety for children. Specifically, like for children, we have a large neurosurgery and neuro-oncology program. We treat a lot of brain tumors, and so we're putting in a $7 million interoperative MRI so we can actually do imaging while we are doing surgery, so we can actually get much more of the tumor out than what's previously done now. So that's an example of technology we're putting in there to help reduce reoperation. It reduces infection rates. And again, it's an expensive piece of equipment, but it's what children deserve. It's state of the art. So that's an example. We also have an indoor-outdoor rehab gym that we're putting in place for children that come to us with traumatic brain injuries and things of that nature who we rehabilitate. But we want their experience in the hospital to be like a normal kid's experience. So we wanted to have an outdoor space they could go and do their rehab but feel like they're outside. We are building a state-of-the-art cardiac unit. So like you said, our cardiac program is ranked 48th in the country, and our orthopedic program is number 25 in the country. But our cardiac program, just because the technology is changing so much with devices and things of that nature, we're building a state-of-the-art heart institute for our children. The other thing that's in the hospital that's really going to be a beautiful thing is on the 8th floor. It's a family respite space. So if families are staying here for a long period of time, even though we do have housing next door at the Conine Clubhouse, a lot of them stay in the building. But there's a shower that feels like home. There's a business center. They can have family members come for dinner when our visitor policy changes. We also have training. So in the space for training future physicians, we have our graduate medical education program. We have a nursing residency program. We train respiratory therapists, dietitians. So we have a simulation lab, and the simulation lab can be used to train professionals, but also parents who maybe they're taking home a newborn that's going to be on a trach, or has a new piece of equipment that they need to learn, so we can actually train them as well. And we're expanding our schoolroom, our classroom. So Broward County Schools, we have a teacher on site, Mr. George, who's awesome. He needs a bigger classroom so that we can actually have the kids together for class. Right now, it's not that way. Obviously, school's out, but when they are in session, we try to socialize them so they can get together like a regular classroom. So the new building it's gorgeous. And we're really thinking about the future of healthcare for children. So that's probably our largest project. It's $166 million to build, but we are going to do it. We're raising money. We have a capital campaign going right now called Catch the Love, and we're fundraising. But it is absolutely the right thing to do for children in our community.
That's just amazing. I don't think you're doing enough. Come up with some more projects. That's incredible. My gosh, you sure, now I know that you said you don't sleep. That's for sure. Teri, I wanted to ask you, what's the most satisfying part of your job?
There's so many satisfying parts. I actually feel like I haven't worked a day in my life. I so much love what I do. You mentioned I'm an author. I wrote a book called I Got Bank. It's a financial literacy book for children, focused really on urban youth. And I think the most satisfying for me is educating our community about money, and doing it in a way that is culturally relevant, and that gets them to focus on, we do a lot of work to focus on closing the wealth gap. And we try to help people understand that for each family, so the difference between Black and white wealth is about $179,000. If you look at the net worth of Black families versus white families. And that sounds like a very big number, and it is a big number, but we try to get families to focus on closing the wealth gap for their family, which could be buying a home, it could be starting a business, it could be buying insurance. So, trying to make it, culturally relevant, and trying to make sure that it doesn't seem so complicated, because money can be one that, I think this is true of all of us, it could be somewhat intimidating. So when we say to our community, you're only one transaction away from closing the wealth gap, that helps, it seem less insurmountable. Mm-hmm. When I say to kids, there's this little boy named Jazz Ellington, and he says, I got bank, because he has saved $2,000 in his bank account. And that's something you can do too. It makes it more real. And so I think that's what I love the most, is really talking about money in a way that doesn't seem intimidating and allows people to sort of get over the emotional, cultural hurdles that are required to build wealth.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
I wanted to let Elaine and Michael and Gary know that there's many, many comments in the chat box. I don't see questions, but what I see are people who are so appreciative of these three extraordinary women and everything that they've done for the community. So many positive thoughts and appreciation. I don't know whether you wanted me to read some of those, Elaine, or you just want everybody to take a look at the chat box?
Well, I think we do have, unless we have a few more moments that anyone else wants to ask any questions.
I have another question, unless you want me to read some of the chat boxes.
Yeah, there's some really nice comments in there from the chat box. So go ahead with your question. Let's see if we can get to just a couple of the comments then.
Okay, so I have another question for Stacy. Stacy, I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank. I don't know if anybody watches Shark Tank.
Oh,
It's an
I love
awesome
Shark Tank.
program with about 5 or 6 billionaires, and they listen to people who come up with innovative ideas. What advice would you give to someone who wants to be an entrepreneur? They always say, come up with a better mousetrap. Do you have some advice to give?
Am I unmute? Yeah, okay. Well, I would say, first of all, you have to focus on your product is number one. And, our CFO that worked for us on Stacy's was also on Shark Tank after he had started his own company, but it's more, and he handled himself very well. But I would have to say that if I were on Shark Tank, it all comes back to the product and the team. And if you have those two combinations, then everything else will fall in place.
Wonderful. Elaine, did you want me to read some of the comments?
Yeah, there's some really interesting ones. Please.
Okay, let's see. So about Joe DiMaggio, Nancy says, my kids are older now, but they all went to Joe DiMaggio and I always had the most wonderful experience there. My business, Chai Teas, does all the polos and volunteer jackets for Joe DiMaggio and Memorial. Love both hospitals. Excellent service. Then we've got, let's see, Stacy, love the BeBOLD bars. Everybody is highly inspirational and wonderful. Really appreciate all the work you do.
Thank you.
Hello, ladies, beautiful work. I teach courses in meditation at your service. That's Sylvia Rivera, Health and Wellness Director, a certified teacher of transcendental meditation. Tammy says, what an inspirational panel of speakers. Great work. Please reach out to me for information. She handles member programs and government affairs at the Greater Hollywood Chamber of Commerce. And a lot of contact information are in these chat boxes for you to look at. Maria Suarez says, Caitlin, Stacy, and Teri, you are amazing women, and thank you for all you do. Janet Henfield Green says, what an inspirational panel of speakers. Teri Williams, you are an inspiration to me. As a fellow, you inspire me to do more for our community. Would love to stay connected. Teri and Caitlin, keep fighting the good fight for women and for children. Thank you all. And Teri says you can learn more about OneUnited Bank at www.oneunited.com or follow us on social, Facebook, OneUnited, IG and Twitter, OneUnited. Also visit www.oneunited.com /for our online financial education center. Gladys Mizrahi says, thank you for sharing your stories. This is what the power of heals is all about. Levy Goza says, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. So inspiring. Let's see. Elaine, you want me to keep going?
Can I just make a quick comment? This is something I've
Yes.
been thinking about since our last experience, and I just want to share it with everyone and then my panelists. So when we had our experience last time, obviously we were all extremely bothered by it. And afterwards, several of my team members are on the phone, and I talked to one of them after, and he said, are you okay? And I said, this makes me want to work harder for our children in the future. And when I was thinking back about the whole conversation that we had prior to being interrupted, and now even today, I want to just say that I think one thing we all share is the power of doing good and continuing to do good in our own universe. Stacy, you've taken the creativity that you have and you've done good with it, and you continue to spread goodwill. And Teri, you're impacting so many children and families and giving them an empowerment that they probably never thought was possible. And our whole team at the hospital, every day with every encounter, we have the ability to spread good and make it better for the future. And I just want to thank you both, because I think if everybody approached the world this way, it would be a good thing. So I'm committed to sticking to it, and no matter what happens. That's why I kind of said to one of you, like, we're getting back on this call and we're doing it again.
So I 100% agree. And I have to tell you, when I first started the company, I need, as much as, in your heart, you might want to do good and you may not have the time or the money to do so at that point in time. But there are times when either you may have the money or you may have the time. And I'm sure that you, even with your hospital, that both are valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yes. But thank you.
And I also agree. I think it is so important that we have that we bring hope and positivity to what we're doing, because there are a lot of people that would like to take that away. And so I agree.
And I wanted to let you all know as well that I did ship you all bars.
Good. I love them.
They should be arriving on Friday.
Thank you.
You're great. Thank you. All right, Mr. Chairman, you ready to close up?
Hold on. Yes, I am. And I must say, even though I didn't have my camera on, I was listening to the whole thing. And the ladies, not only the ladies, our three speakers, but all of you that came back to the program this time. You guys are just amazing. The interaction that was going back and forth and the questions and Judge Stein, I can't thank you enough for moderating and everything that you do for us. So that being said, I just do want to thank the sponsor, Joe DiMaggio's Children's Hospital. Thank you to our three wonderful women of influence, Stacy, Madison, Teri Williams, and Caitlin Stella. Again, thank you to our moderator, Judge Linda Singer-Stein. And again, really quick, Michael Stern, for all of that you do for us and the time that you put in. I know the hours you put in for all the programs that we do. So thank you so much. I won't go through them, but I did earlier, the 11 organizations and all of our CEOs and partner Chamber of Commerces for participating in round 2 of the Women of Influence. And that being said, unless you have something else, Elaine, it is, have a great Wednesday. Have a safe 4th of July weekend. Be safe, be healthy. I always say, wear your masks, right? Right, Mayor?
Yes,
wear your mask. Okay,
Wear
wear your mask. And thank you for everything. Thank you for the three ladies. Be safe, be healthy. And Michael, when's our next program, Elaine?
Well,
come on, the last thing we need to do is give a plug for ourselves. When's our next program?
That's okay, we've got 11 chambers. Because then Jerry Libby will want to talk about his Bowati Award.
Yes. All of you chambers. Is Eric here?
Yes, I see Eric.
Where's Eric?
I'm here.
Eric, I saw you the other day on TV.
All right.
I saw you on TV, Eric.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Gracie.
Gracie.
Good night.
Good night. Thank
We
you
good?
all.
Have a great day,
Bye,
everybody. Happy
everyone.
4th of July.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
God
Thank you.
bless you all.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for a
Thank you.
wonderful one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.